And all over the world, healers insist our energy fields, rather than being produced by the body, are more or less independent of it. Science has trouble with all these ideas, but is beginning to accept they may actually deal with something real. Do we have a natural awareness of the electromagnetic fields of others? Some people say so. And a few claim to be able to use this sensitivity to diagnose and treat disease. In Ireland, a group of healers appear to be able to do just that. They believe our external field represents a person's internal state. If someone is healthy, the field is strong. If they are ill, it is weak and patchy. And they treat patients by trying to manipulate the field in ways that seem to provide relief and perhaps even cure chronic problems.
6 or 7 years ago, I had a problem with my stomach at that time. And once Michael treated me, I could feel the energy just flowing into the ground. And in about a week after, I could feel myself getting better by the day, like.
We met Michael in December of '92, and Denise was covered from head to toe in eczema. We took her to the doctor, and the doctor said it was eczema. Here are the steroid creams you use, take her away. And so we did, and we found then that her immune system was going down. She kept getting colds and flus and then pneumonia out of that. So I said, there has to be an alternative, like, you know. So we heard about Michael and we went to him, and since then we haven't looked back.
Michael O'Doherty and his colleagues use their hands as sensors, apparently picking up information from the field around their patients. But what exactly is it that they feel?
What we often feel are like tingling sensations, heat, coolness, heaviness, type of static that you might wave your hands in front of a television when you turn it off, that type of feeling. Everyone
involved in such therapy struggles to find the right words to describe the experience of it. But it isn't easy. The healers are convinced they can take part in a sort of electric dialogue with another person's body. And the patients, too, feel that something is happening to them.
Can you feel sensation going down the right fronces?
Yeah, also down the left.
On your left side.
Now, when I do the little adjustment there, energy adjustment, did you feel that releasing?
Yeah, I felt a release, and it's actually in my toe shoulders, it seems to be
just loosen up.
Yeah.
Now also, I felt a lot of electricity flowing down the spine. Did you have weakness or pressure in the right foot there?
Yeah, and in the right hip.
You felt that's where you had the problem there?
Yeah, I had a problem there now in the right hip.
And is that releasing since it started to work?
Yeah, it is.
Some patients experience dramatic cures, perhaps because all they needed was the encouragement of someone who cares. But we cannot ignore the possibility that there are real energetic exchanges taking place between healers and their patients. The lack of hard evidence, however, leaves most scientists feeling skeptical.
There are some people who claim that they can detect auras around people's body, that they can sense the electric or the magnetic field or something flowing around the body. It's a subject one has great difficulty in believing in, because there's no scientific mechanism that I am aware of which would allow such people to detect these fields.
The gap between alternative and conventional medicine is wide, but the difference between the two could be simply one of scale. Perhaps the life energy recognized by one is just too subtle for the other to measure. But there may be one idea that can bridge the gap.
Does an early ancestor of modern man still exist? Discovery Channel casts a critical eye over the fascinating phenomena that continue to baffle mankind. Critical Eye, Fridays at midnight, over on Discovery Channel.
Scholars described such a secret life force they believed flowed through all living things. They called it Qi. For health, there must be the right amount of Qi, not too much or too little. If your Qi is balanced, you will have resistance to disease. You will be well. The practice of maintaining balance is still known as Qigong, literally energy work. It involves meditation, relaxation, and very careful attention to breathing. Qigong breathing requires slow inhaling and exhaling, concentrating on a vital point right at the center of the body. From there, Qi can be directed to other parts by a highly stylized pattern of flowing movements. These are pleasant to watch and to perform, even if all they do is decrease blood pressure. But the evidence suggests they may do a great deal more.
About 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, and I was told that I would have to have an operation to remove my thyroid, and I just did not accept that as an option. So I found in an alternative healing book that Qigong was good for this. And I started doing it, and within 2 months I had lowered my hormone levels in my blood so much that I am in total remission. I have been in total remission since then.
Everyone who practices Qigong is taught self-control. That is internal Qigong. But masters of the ancient art also practice external Qigong, which involves projecting your energy well beyond the limits of the body. That is hard to explain in scientific terms. It breaks the laws of physics. But Dr. Effie Chow seems to dare do that on a regular basis at her clinic in San Francisco.
There are many things in which Western medicine has not been able to deal with successfully, and it has been proven that Chinese medicine and Qigong has been successful with a number of things. Good, you're moving. Let's see how high you can move it. Very good, okay? And just
recently been appointed as a consultant to the United States Department of Health. A sign that some Western authorities are beginning to take therapies such as Qigong seriously. And yet there is one application of Qi which is already spawning a whole new area of medical research. It is called acupuncture. One of the first Westerners to study acupuncture was Dr. Joseph Goodman, who went to China in 1971. What he saw there astounded him.
When we were in China, we saw a number of very exciting operations being performed on people using only acupuncture analgesia. The one that was most impressive was of an elderly man who had a brain tumor, as far as they could have they diagnosed. And what they did was they removed a segment of his cranium, got a spoon inside and dug out a beaker full of tumor that had been next to his pituitary gland. Quite amazing. We were talking to him all the way through the operation.
Dr. Goodman has become an acupuncturist himself and is now president of the British Association.
What an acupuncturist does when a patient presents themselves is, after taking a full medical history, we check what the balance of the Qi energy is by feeling the pulses, by looking at the abdomen, palpating that, by looking at the tongue. Any number of areas on the body will give us information about the body as a whole. Will tell us about the flow of Qi energy and whether there is anything obstructing it and where.
Then it is possible to decide where to insert the needles. There are over 700 recognized acupuncture points on the body. What the needles are believed to do is to stimulate the energy in ways that encourage general equilibrium, rather than dealing with any specific problem. The acupuncture points are not random. Traditionally, they lie on 12 recognized pathways or meridians, which cover the entire body. But these are just as difficult for a Western-trained anatomist to accept, because they have no connection with nerves, with blood vessels, or the lymphatic system. If conventional medicine is going to come to terms with acupuncture, it will have to be assured that any effect it might seem to have is not the result of hypnosis, suggestion, or the placebo effect. So, what if acupuncture could be shown to work on animals? Dr. Kevin Fenton is a traditional veterinary surgeon. He turned to acupuncture as a way of treating his most difficult cases.
I've used it on dogs, cats, horses, iguanas. The acupuncture meridians are a little different anatomically, perhaps, and you have to extrapolate from where you think a particular point, a meridian, would be.
One of acupuncture's strengths is that a general ailment can be treated without a specific diagnosis. Susan was on the verge of retiring her best polo pony before she discovered the possibilities of acupuncture.
He was having a hard time stopping and turning, which is the most important thing for polo horses to be able to do. And we couldn't find any physical outward problems. The first vet that looked at her prescribed painkillers and muscle relaxers, which did nothing for her. She continued to get worse and worse and worse. When I first heard about animal acupuncture, I was pretty skeptical, because I had never seen it done or had it done. And just within a few sessions, she was incredibly better. I mean, she brightened up, her workouts were better. You could tell it really was helping, and now she's just great.
Another happy customer is Michael Hefferman, who was afraid his puppy Champ was going to have to be put down.
One night she was playing in the backyard with our other dogs, and all of a sudden I heard a yelp, and she came limping over, and I thought that she had a thorn in her paw. And when I looked, there was nothing there. Dog seemed fine, got up and kind of semi-limped away, but went and joined the rest of the dogs. We went to bed that night, got up the next morning, and the dog was paralyzed.
She was in what would be the grade 4 category of intervertebral disc disease, meaning that surgery might be the only option and still might not work.
Being in the pet business, like we had been for years, we had seen this sort of injury before, and it was never good. I'd say 95% of the time the dog was put down.
And so, as often happens, acupuncture was introduced only as a treatment of last resort.
About 3 days later, I noticed that the dog actually was trying to get a sense of control. It was trying to stand. So the doctor continued the treatments, and about 4 or 5 days later, the dog was walking, and within a week or so, it was back to being a pretty normal dog.
I would like to have it done regularly, but I never have time to go. Most people, I think, have become much more aware of acupuncture as a potential treatment. They do not have what they feel is an adequate explanation, and yet the person or the animal is doing better, and sometimes they can't quantify or analyze how that occurs.
The fact that animals do respond to acupuncture and can even be operated on without anesthesia suggests that something real is happening at the end of the needles. But the nature of the change remains mysterious. Energy seems to be involved. Is it